All right, guys, welcome back to NFT Art Galaxy. Really appreciate you being here. Algo Abstractions is back for part two of three of our series on AI art, uncovering what it is and how it's made and all the intricacies. And I'm learning a lot, so really excited to have you back. Algo Abstractions, take it away.
Yeah, good to be here again. Thank you. So I just wanted to, again, in terms of the overview of different types of AI art, last time we talked a little bit about style GAN and art breeder, as well as style transfers. So I think one that a lot of people are hotly anticipating, hopefully, is today we're going to discuss Vqgan and clip, as well as clip guided diffusion. And if you have no idea what those words mean, great. We're going to talk about what they mean because most people don't. So we're going to go through exactly what that is, but I can guarantee you that you've seen it.
I have no idea, but I'm excited.
Yeah, you've definitely seen this. You've definitely seen it floating around. So what exactly is Vqgan and clip? So we talked a little bit last time about neural networks and GAN. So if you haven't watched the first video in the series, I definitely recommend it. But essentially what Vqgan is, it stands for vector quantized GAN. And basically that's a very fancy way of saying that it's a GAN that creates images. And then it's combined with another neural network called CLIP, which is contrastive language image pre-training. And basically what that means is it interprets text and then combines it with the GAN to create an image that matches a textual prompt. Wow. So all of this is a very fancy way of saying that you put a prompt into the GAN and it runs and it spits out an image that is an attempt to match the prompt that you wrote. And this is really cool. This is something that actually was invented this year in 2021. And so up until even a few months ago, didn't exist. And so we're really at the cutting edge of machine learning and artificial intelligence here. So this is just a quick example of literally like one of the first things that popped up when I went into one of the freely available Vqgan generators. And so here's the example. And this image was generated from the prompt of Santa Claus, beautiful, cubism, surrealism. And so they typed that prompt in, and this was the image that the computer spit out. And so as you can see, you can see where each of those pieces came in, but didn't quite necessarily get to maybe what the person was hoping for, or maybe it was, I don't know. But you can see where the clip was able to actually pick up on some of those words that were used and then use it to generate an image. So you can see the bits that were Santa Claus and the bits that were cubism and surrealism there. So wow. Just a little bit, it would be inappropriate, I think, of me to talk about Vqgan plus clip without acknowledging Catherine Krausen. So, and she's actually on Twitter. Her Twitter is Rivers Have Wings. And she is just an incredible resource in the AI art world. So she essentially wrote the code that was used to combine Vqgan and clip together, and then published it and made it freely available online to anyone who wanted to use it. And so if you are in the AI art world, she is an absolute must follow, because she literally, like yesterday, posted a new data set that she had trained and developed. And she's just an incredible resource, and more importantly than being a genius is she's incredibly generous with her work, and just once she's done with it, she makes it freely available to anyone who wants to try to use it. So and I think that's true of the AI art community in general. And there are a ton of, if I wanted to acknowledge every person who has been really generous with their time and their knowledge in creating AI art, I could fill an entire video with it. But I just wanted to like shout her out in particular because she's just a really incredible resource to the AI art world. And to be honest, without her, it would certainly not exist in its current form, and maybe wouldn't exist at all. So
definitely gonna go check her out, and I highly encourage you all listen to Algo Abstractions and go check her out. Not right now though. You need to watch the video. No multitasking. Stop it.
Yeah. So all of her code is freely available, and so if you are someone watching this video who knows how to code in Python, you can go on her GitHub and find all the code. She also has Google Colab notebooks that she's made publicly available, and so even if you have only a relatively rudimentary knowledge of coding, I would still recommend having some knowledge of coding if you're going to use one of her notebooks directly. But they are publicly available. And again, I think I mentioned in the last video, I'm not a computer scientist by training. I know a little bit of basic coding, but I found her notebooks to be really streamlined and easy to use. And anyone who wants to actually go to her source material and use it, just come speak to me. I'm happy to go through it with you and help you out.
Well, thank you for that.
But luckily, for those of you who are extremely coding impaired, which I imagine is most of you,
me. Guilty.
Yeah, there are a couple of freely available resources that take all of that work out of it for you. And I actually am going to go through a couple of these with you. So the first one is called Night Cafe, and it is a freely available site that allows you to put in your own text prompt and make something. So I guess before we do it, I just wanted to quickly run over exactly what's going on under the hood. So I mentioned last time that a GAN is an adversarial network. So basically it's two neural networks that are fighting against each other to try to create an image that matches the source. And in this case, the source is the text prompt. And essentially what this technique does is it starts with a completely randomly generated image called a seed, and then it goes through multiple steps to try to create that. So typically it might go through, down here you see those steps are called iterations, and it goes through 200 iterations to try to match the image. So I think the easiest way to understand this is just to do it. So we're actually going to go over to Night Cafe and let's make one. So I'm going to show the advanced options just so we have them, but hit me. What do you want to make?
All right, let's do NY for New York, and then we'll do Knicks. We'll do basketball. And then we'll do some skyline, moon, and stars. Is that enough?
Hell yeah. Sounds great.
Let's see what happens. Maybe it's better than the Knicks. We'll see.
So I mentioned before, I just mentioned that the image typically starts with a randomly generated image, but you can do a start image that's sometimes called an initial image.
Oh, wow.
And so it'll start somewhere and then it'll iterate from there. So actually I know I've brought up Algor and Friends once already in our previous video, but there's actually one, I think it's number 67 in their series, is they used a start image of their Algor and then iterated from there.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, that's you can start with an image, and so it'll start with a base and then like do weird stuff to it from there. But if you're trying to make something unique, I recommend for anyone who's starting to use this tool to use just use a blank. So don't use an initial.
Does the network connect to that image? Does it search and know what that image is and connects with it?
No.
Or it's just
so basically, it has no idea what the image is.
Got it.
It just tries to match. Rather than starting with a random image, it starts with that image and then changes it to try to match the words that you're using.
Okay.
So let's say that you like started with an image of I don't know, a monkey or something, it would and you use this prompt on it, you would be able to see where it started from, maybe, but it would be completely different by the end of it, because that image would be modified. It's trying to use that image to create this prompt. Actually, you know what? Let's just try it with a start image so you can use an example. So let's do New York Knicks basketball moon star skyline with this lion as the initial image and see what happens. So I'm going to use a random seed, but although we're using an initial image, so the seed doesn't really matter. And then I typically do 200 iterations and then low resolution. Again, I don't really use Night Cafe because I personally use the Krausen notebook directly.
Okay.
But these are good. I have tried Night Cafe just to kind of know what it is, and for people who are just starting to use AI art. Like I've helped them through this because it's just so much easier than using the actual code. And so I recommend doing low resolution rather than thumbnail, and then create. It'll take a few minutes. And as you can see, I've did some testing on this with you before. Oh, this is the one we did earlier, actually. This is the one from the first video. Yeah. So this was the Bitcoin goddess put onto the lion. But we're going to see what New York Knicks basketball skyline moon and scars does to the lion. But as you can see, that lion image is already starting to shift.
That's wild how it's doing it like in real time.
Yeah. So what you can actually do with Night Cafe is you can use a few more credits. And again, Night Cafe has it's free to use, but there are only a certain number of credits you can use a day, and you can buy more. You can actually get one for, I think, like a day's worth of credits, where it actually will make a video of every single step, all 200 steps that it used in generating your image.
Oh, wow.
So you can see here already that like the lion is almost, you can still see where it was, but already the image is being taken over by our New York Knicks.
I think there's a Knicks logo there, I think.
Yeah.
Skyline, I see.
Yeah.
I guess that's maybe a moon. It's the main thing is turning it into a moon, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think generally speaking, when you use an initial image to generate something totally different, it'll use it almost as an outline. So it'll try to like maintain the same basic shape, but will make something to match your prompt with that shape.
Well, I still see the eyes. There's a lot of eyes.
Yeah. So that's something very common that you see with a lot of AI art, is it loves to just like throw in weird faces and eyes. And Google Deep Dream is actually very famous for that. That like everything has a just bunch of weird, like almost like eldritch abomination style eyes in them for some odd reason that no one can really figure out. With some of the more advanced techniques, you can actually start to and here's our final product. So here is our New York Knicks basketball skyline moon stars, ready to post on AB2.
Wow.
But
500 algo.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah. So one of the keys, and I mean, I've mentioned before in our last video that a lot of this is, it's very easy, as you can see, it's very easy to make something, but it's very hard to make something good. And one thing that as you get more advanced, really a lot of the skill in making AI art is both in knowing how to write the prompts, but also just knowing that 75% of what you create is going to be garbage, and that you're not going to use it. So a typical, I know I'm like giving away a lot of company secrets here. I'm going to stop short of like going through a full prompt of mine because I should keep some things as like secret sauce. But just for example, like a typical prompt that I will use in a GAN image or in one of my animation creations will be dozens of words. and actually, as you get more advanced, you can give weights to those words. So you mentioned that, like, you got these weird eyes popping up. So that's like a common thing in AI image generation. And you're actually able to, in many of the programs with the code, give a weight to the eyes. So I give an extremely strong negative weight to the word eyes so that the computer knows, don't give me eyes. Do not give me that under any circumstance.
Yeah.
And it still sometimes does.
Yeah.
Another thing that some of them do is give text. So I was actually just talking with CryptoShanes about this earlier today, that sometimes you give like a really strong negative weight to text and it'll still pop in just like weird letters. But those are kind of the next level techniques is getting to the, your 50 word prompts to create something and then giving weights to the words, so that like you want this part of so like you want New York Knicks to be stronger than moon.
Right.
You can do that.
Cool. Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, I think it came out pretty cool. I mean, I probably wouldn't hang it on my wall, but like looking at it, it looks like a big apple on top of the skyline, kind of.
I didn't even notice the apple. That's a good point. I actually think
like a guy with a helmet.
That is definitely what it was going for.
I mean, I don't know. It's very, very interesting. So
yeah, I'm trying to figure out who this is. Like,
that's I think that's a little Algorand with the helmet on.
I was like, is that Latrell Sprewell?
Yeah.
Is that, yeah.
There's another face on the right side. There's like a couple eyes and a face on the top there, top right.
It's Sprewell and Allen Houston.
They're getting sucked in.
So cool. That's just like a quick run through of Night Cafe. And
thanks
then
for sharing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I do also want to call your attention one called Wombo. And this one is actually an app that is available on the App Store, as well as a in your browser. So we can actually do the same kind of thing here. So you have another prompt you want to do?
We could do palm trees, ocean, sun, and lazy. Let's do lazy.
Lazy, love it. All right, and happens. Then so with this one you can actually choose a style.
Oh wow. Wow. I don't know. This is HD festive. I don't know.
All right. Yeah, it's that time of year. Festive right. Sounds good.
Let's go for it.
And then so Wombo doesn't give you the kind of knobs that Night Cafe does. Obviously, like the one that gives you the most control is actually being in the Krausen notebook, but without coding knowledge, the Night Cafe gives you the most control, and then Wombo gives you the least control. But so you literally just click create.
And this is an app too, it looks like, huh? You can do it on your phone.
So if you notice, the default is it's creating it in like iPhone wallpaper size.
All right, look at that.
Yeah, so as you can see, it actually is like showing you each step before your eyes, and it's very fast.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that festive? I'm trying to figure out if that's festive. Looks like the palm trees are being
yeah, so there's your work.
Maybe I should have got some sand. And they could mint it as NFT coming soon. Wow.
Yeah, they know their audience. So I show this tool just to again for all you creators out there to show how easy this is. Again and again, I think that is a double-edged sword, because I think I was actually a little bit afraid to show some of these tools, because I was talking with a couple of the AI guys. There are a few of us, so there's me, there's CryptoShanes and NeuroTreats who make the animations, and then NFTaro and Hexlights and Nick Papacone, who make a lot of the GAN images and the still images. And we were a little bit, and I've spoken with Algsy a little bit about this too. I was a little bit anxious to show some of these techniques, just because think we were worried that like once people realize, wait, I can just create something with this pretty quickly that looks passable, that there would be even more of a flood of the AI generated art than there already is. But I think that it's important that people know that this exists, both again from a collector standpoint and from a creator standpoint, that you can create really, really cool stuff with this, but you gotta put in the work. So I mean, most of the pieces that I make and that I know that NeuroTreats makes, I mean, we're and I'm sure CryptoChains too, we're talking like 50, 60 words in the prompts or more.
Oh, wow.
And even then, and I've talked about this, you know, NeuroTreats is someone who I work really closely with. We don't make pieces together, but we bounce a lot of ideas off of each other, and we've talked a lot about the work that goes into this. And I would say that 75 to 80% of what we start, we throw out. Wow. Because it's not up to par. And so there's really a lot that goes into this, but because it's so easy to create something, I think that it sometimes gives some of this a little bit of a bad rap. So I just wanted to make sure that people knew about it and kind of what goes into it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean,
So this is Wombo. There's also another app called Starryai, does a similar thing. It has huge, like the main disadvantage of it versus Wombo is this one. Wombo you can use as many times as you want for free. And Starry is like Night Cafe is a credit system and is slower. So I don't really know why anyone would use this one when this one exists, other than the GANs are slightly different, but it does exist if it's something that people are interested in doing. But if you, my suggestion is that if you really want to do this, it doesn't take that long to learn some of the basic coding that's used to use some of the notebooks.
So that's what you would recommend, is actually going to the source instead of like these commercial kind of sites.
So
get more control over your art.
Yeah. So I think that for people, it's kind of what we talked about in the last video, which is that for people that it's a good tool for people who want to use this as a starting point, but these should not be the end all and be all of your AI generated art. You shouldn't use Wombo and click create and then download it and list it on AP2. Right. There's more to it that goes into that, because anyone can do that, right? Like we just created a pretty cool looking piece based on like, you know, the 4 words that we threw in there and adding festive. Right. And so I think that there needs to be more to it than that. I think that people need to realize that yes, these tools exist, and yes, these tools are really powerful and they're amazing, but because it's so easy to create something cool, I guess what's the word I'm looking for? The bar is higher. Okay. Because of it, right? Like because these things exist and are so easily accessible, the bar is higher for something for making art. And so these pieces are the starting point, but you got to have a vision. You got to take the next step, I think, is really the key.
You can clearly see the difference on the left, something generated in one of those AI generators, as opposed to something that is on the right, which is a masterpiece, something that was thought of, created, many brush strokes, many words, as you're talking about in the prompts, and clearly you can see the difference.
So I did want to talk about one other thing that's related to Vqgan, but is not the same, and that is diffusion. And I actually use diffusion a lot. I at this point, I would say that at least 75-25 diffusion to GAN in terms of what I use. And diffusion is not available as an app or for someone who's not comfortable using a collab notebook. But I did want to just quickly touch on it because I think it's really neat, and it works slightly differently than Vqgan does, but it does still use the clip piece. So essentially, we talked about earlier that clip is the tool that interprets the language. And then unlike GAN, diffusion uses a slightly different technique. And basically what it does is, I mean, you may have seen some of these apps that exist that are like denoisers. So like these apps where you take a blurry photo and then you put it through the app and it comes out looking much more clear. That's a denoiser. So it essentially like uses AI to predict what the photo should have looked like if it were more clear, and then makes it so. And so basically what diffusion does, which is really cool, is it starts with a completely blurry image, and then with the guide of clip, uses a denoiser over and over and over and over and over and over hundreds of times to try to match it to that image. And so I know that sounds like kind of wild. So I'm actually just gonna, I can't show you exactly. I can't show you it in real time because it's like, there's no app for it. It's just like in the collab notebook. But here's an example of an image that I made for this show. So this was, I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole prompt one because again, like trying to keep my secret sauce a little bit, but also because it's like 60-word prompt. But essentially, this was the image that it started with. So just a completely nonsensical, blurry image. Wow. And then this was it after a few hundred steps, and then a few hundred more, and then this was the final product.
Wow.
So I mean, it sounds like science fiction that I was able to just like give a prompt and it took this image and denoised it into this. It's to be honest, like still mind blowing to me. The diffusion notebooks are like less than 6 months old. And so the technology is changing every day since I've started creating. So I've been using AI art. I started following it when it first, like when Catherine Krausen first dropped the first collab notebook in April. And already there have been like 20 new notebooks that have come out. And even since I started actually taking the art that I made and, you know, minting it here with the Algo folks, I've been doing that I minted my first piece October 19th. So it's been a little over 2 months. Already there have been 2 new diffusion notebooks that have come out. This technology is changing really rapidly and is really cool. And if you know how to use it properly, the possibilities are like legitimately boundless. And so
I was gonna say, how did you get into this? Was it something you always had an interest in, art or AI, or did just you read it something like how did you what was the prompt that got you into this?
Exactly. So I'm not a computer scientist, but I've always been very interested in just neural networks in general. I think they're very cool. And so I used to play with, there have been predictive text neural networks for a long time where you can, and that's actually, I mean, where like even that's been around for a long time, even as long as like predictive texting in Gmail or in your phone, where it can guess what your next word might be. But there were much more advanced ones where you can give it a prompt and it'll write a story based on that prompt. Wow. Those have been around for a little while. They've gotten much, much better in the last few years and even in the last few months. But that's actually how I first started getting into this, was just like learning about neural networks that way. And then when I actually stumbled upon, Rivers Have Wings, Krausen's Twitter, and saw that she was doing this and that she had made it free to the public. And it just like, it was this rabbit hole that I fell into and really haven't come out for air since. Like I have a totally unrelated job. I have a family. Like I have so many other things that are going on in my life, and it's really this.
Yeah.
This
Well, this is really cool
awesome
what you're doing.
space that I spend a ton of time on. Yeah.
I watched. I think it was Zestbloom. You were featured on Zestbloom, and I was on their spaces, and you made a video, and it was on Twitter. I mean, I watched that. And I thought that was amazing. What you put together. That's something I'll put a link down below for that. I think people should watch that because it just shows kind of your passion for this art, allowing you to express yourself the way that you want to be able to be expressed. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I think that is really the key. Is that the possibilities are literally endless. Like you can make anything you want with these things. You just need to you need the tools are there. You just need to put in the time to figure out how to tell it what to make you. And that it actually, like, there's a lot of trial and error. And I know, and later on we'll talk with CryptoShanes, and I'm sure he feels the same way. But there's a lot of garbage that comes out. But when you finally like have a breakthrough with finally getting the prompt just right, then it makes something really cool. It's like it's the best feeling in the world.
That's amazing. Are you gonna write a prompt book in the future? I mean, I'm sure
maybe someday. Like I said, I'm a little bit nervous. So the what's cool about the AI art world is it's a very giving community. So there's like I said, there's a bunch of us that like talk and bounce ideas off each other, even if we're not making pieces together.
Right.
It's very collaborative. But the one piece that everyone is very secretive about is their prompts, because their prompts are like really that's the whole thing, right? That's right. Those are your brushstrokes. Exactly. That's exactly right. And so to give away your prompts is to kind of give away the entire thing. And again, like there's so much time and love and energy that's spent into like finely tuning the prompt. And I mean, I've mentioned that like I do like 50-60 word prompts, and I have had pieces where the entire thing turned on one word in those 60, and it took like 100 times running it to figure out like, oh, this was the key in making it exactly the way I wanted it, and not like a random pile of garbage.
Right. So it's not always 60. So it's like, you're on like 54 prompt. Like, do you run it every, like the 54th prompt, the 54th? Is that, well, let's not get into any secrets or anything, but
yeah,
I mean, I guess the whole point is just get as creative as you possibly, that's
yeah. So for like, my new Aradona series. So I just finished up a series a couple weeks ago, I guess last week, where I generated an entire story of this like cyberpunk style world entirely based on diffusion images. And each chapter in the story, I actually, like, on my website have the entire story written like with the images. So it was kind of an experiment in storytelling. Was, can I like generate these AI images based on a story that I want to tell? And I had a lot of fun doing it. But so there were 5 chapters, each had 10 pieces each, so 50 total pieces, which sounds like a lot. I would say that in total for that piece, I probably generated 1,000, if not more, pieces, and then like to get 50 that I liked, that fit the story that I was looking to tell.
Wow. All right, man. That's
and each of those takes time. So like, I mean, you saw that, like, I mean, when you're making one piece, right, like going through Night Cafe or whatever, yeah, it's like cool that you can generate like an image like that in 2 minutes. But when you're generating 1,000 of them, and you have to actually like go through and then say, okay, I generated this one. What did I do wrong here that it didn't come out the way that I wanted it to come out? That's the entire battle.
Yeah, it's more of a novelty when you're in Night Cafe, and you're more of a creator,
right?
When you're making your series and stuff. So yeah, I think that's
actually, I mean, I guess shameless plug. I have another series dropping tomorrow on Zestbloom that's like, so those 2 pieces that I had in the Zestbloom exhibition are actually part of a 10 piece series. Entirely based on poems. So the actual text of the poems are are a part of the prompt. So I'm really excited about those. We'll get into a little bit about the animation. So how do I make the animations next time? But I'm really excited about it, and I hope that people like them.
All right. Well, I do. You got a raving fan over here. So, as always, I appreciate your time and your knowledge and your experience. And man, a lot of fun talking to you and kind of, again, lifting up that hood for us and kind of going over all these different techniques and things that are out there and available, which I know everybody's going to be looking at and trying to explore a little further. I might have to learn how to code, but
yeah, definitely recommended. And like I said, the community is very giving, and so if anybody wants to pick my brain about any of this, my DMs are open, and you should contact me on Twitter. Come talk to me. I'm on Discord also. I'm very active in several of the Discord communities. I'm at Algo Abstractions, so I'm easy to find, and on both Twitter and Discord. And so hit me up anytime. I love talking about this stuff. And if you're looking to put your toe in the water, just do it. It's fun.
Yep, I definitely will. And I think everybody should follow River Has Wings, follow Algo Abstractions. I'm going to put this stuff in the show notes. I'll also put some links to some of your work as well, so people can see a little bit more of that. And really appreciate it. And we're going to have you back on again to talk even more AI, because it's a very vast topic and we can't get it all in one or two videos. So really appreciate it.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me.
All right, NFT Art Galaxy, please like, share, love, smash that subscribe button, send it to your friends. Whatever you do, just watch it again over and over. But anyway, thank you so much. And until next time, talk to you guys soon.